25 common misconceptions about the United States that simply aren't true. Let's see, are they true or not? Let's go.
The United States often draws a lot of flack from the rest of the world for everything. From its foreign policy to the way it runs its domestic affairs. In fact, it seems like there are few things that can divide the world more evenly and more strongly than asking people what their opinion is of the United States. Everyone has an opinion. Even in the same city, you'll meet people who fall on the extreme sides of the spectrum. But what is it exactly that causes America to be so messed up? Even America's own politicians can't seem to stop talking about how messed up things are. Well, today we're going to take a deeper look. Are things really as bad as everyone seems to think they are? I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 common misconceptions about the United States that simply aren't true.
Listen, in my country, there are a lot of opinions about the USA. There are a lot of positive opinions. USA is helping us to protect against Russia, but they are also a lot of people that are on Russian side, and they say, we don't like USA because we are for Russia. USA is owning this country. And this is a big problem over here in Latvia.
And as a very important note, this list was produced by both a United States citizen and 2 European citizens that relocated to the United States.
I can tell you even more, there are people here in Latvia that want Russia to come and occupy us. Imagine this. And I'm not talking about minority. There are a lot of them.
It's written to be as fair as possible. No, I'm not 2 Europeans. Or am I?
No, you're not.
All right, let's begin with a really common thought. Americans are ignorant about the world. Americans are held to an unrealistic standard. Since the rest of the world watch our movies and listen to our music, they know a lot about our country. But let's be honest, they never studied it. People actually complain that Americans don't even know that Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore. But neither does half the United Kingdom, and they're on the same continent. It turns out that all of us are pretty bad at geography.
Kinda true, but not all of us, like USA and let's say United Kingdom. In Europe, as far as I'm concerned, we are pretty good in geography. At least in Latvia, geography is taught well in schools.
You'd think America would be better at it. However, considering another common thought is that America spends its days spying on everyone. And that's true. But who doesn't? Germany, France, Switzerland, Japan, Iceland, and all the rest of us spy on each other and ourselves. Moving on, America has been called racist. Please don't take this the wrong way. Racism definitely exists, and it makes the news. But you know what else? America also has a vicious media, and all of the world watches it, sometimes more than their own media. So when something super bad happens in other countries, it might not even make the back page. Next, it's a common misconception that Americans don't...
Hey, I just, let's talk about it a bit. Let's talk about it because here in Latvia we have this racism stuff also. Unfortunately, people are used to having white Europeans around, and now our government is allowing Indians to come and work here. And older generation from USSR that were raised and born in USSR, they're not satisfied. Younger generation don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. I'm okay. I lived in UK. I don't care about the skin color. I care more about the person. But older generation, they cannot stand like Indians, other peoples with the other races. So it is what it is. And I think it's not only in Latvia. I think it's a problem in Europe overall.
Use public transport. While it's true that we use cars a lot, many regions in America have great public transport, or at least just as good as Europe. Besides, what good is a train if nobody can afford it? We're looking at you, UK. Moving on. America does /has/is fill in the blank.
Listen, UK trains are super expensive, ridiculously expensive. Just a trip from the middle of the UK to London costs like 60 to 100 pounds. This is ridiculous.
America is far from being a unified entity. Each state has its own laws, cultures, and quirks. Some states have the death penalty. Some don't.
Yeah, this is so bizarre.
Some have strict gun laws, and some don't. Some have free college. Some don't. Some have tax, and yeah, some don't. So just like you can't say Europe is so-and-so, you can't say the same about the US.
Yes.
As an additional note, the states are far more independent than many of us realize. In fact, every state even has its own military, known as the Guard. Furthermore, some states pass legislation that directly contradicts the federal government. This is because in the US, the federal government is not the highest authority, the states are. To further establish the fact that America...
Wow, I didn't know that. This is amazing. So every state has their own power and their own army. What? Wow, I thought you were just unified country with the federal government like in charge.
Isn't a single entity. Many believe that Americans only speak one language. But that's no different from the rest of the world. Have you ever been to France? Or the UK? Or Italy? Or how about China? Most of them only speak one language too. That being said, over 20% of the US is bilingual. Now, let's talk about the military, because people outside the US will preach that America's military does, again, fill in the blank. Nobody is naive enough to think that the US doesn't have selfish interests in mind when it invades a country. There isn't a nation on earth that would do that selflessly. But whenever the bad goes down, it's just as common for other countries to complain that America should do something. On a more or less lighter note,
I agree, well, I understand that as a citizen of a small country, there's no way around that to be under some bigger country dominance, yeah? For example, Latvia was under Germans, under Swedish Empire, under Russian Empire. And I can tell you one thing, I would be rather under Americans than under Russia. You know why? Because Americans have democracy, Americans have capitalism, and I like it more than the Russian dictatorship.
Americans are fat.
Well, I mean...
You ever been to the UK lately? There are even scandals because obese patients are getting turned down for surgery. Yes, America does have an obesity problem. But not all citizens are involved in it. I am. A big part of the United States is fairly health conscious and is consistently working to help the overweight population better their lives. Thanks, healthy people. And while we aren't perfect, many complain that America is worse than other developed nations in, well, everything. There are many statistics, child mortality, literacy, etc., where the US falls behind countries like Norway and Iceland. But those statistics are based on averages. In Norway, most of the 5 million inhabitants are rich, white, and Norwegian. If you took a similar sample of rich, white Americans in the US, you would find that the statistics are almost exactly the same.
That is true also.
The fact is that the US is hugely diverse, and the American experience is completely different with and without money. Translation? The problem isn't healthcare or education, it's economic inequality, almost exclusively. And speaking of inequality, many make the simple but powerful assumption that America just isn't safe. This is usually what foreign citizens say until they actually come here. By this same logic...
Yeah, but as a foreigner, I see America, you guys have a lot of guns over there, and I hear about a lot of school shootings, and for me as a foreigner, we really think that in America is dangerous, because in Europe, we don't carry guns. Most of people don't carry guns. We don't carry nothing. Like the scariest thing that we carry is a butter knife, literally butter knife, man. This is different world. Europe is different world. America is different world.
Paris, Brussels, London, Madrid, and almost every other city in Europe is unsafe as well. Yes, there are guns. But most Americans have never seen or heard a gun being fired. In fact, most Swiss citizens are much more familiar with gunfire than us Americans.
How is that possible?
All this being said so far, people still expect all Americans to relish in the life of our stereotypes. Guns, fast food, and freedom! What I'm saying is a lot of
F-15s, Eagles, and Abrams tanks.
the world looks at America as overly patriotic. But here's an honest question. Have you ever met a Russian, Australian, a proud member of the UK? There's no shame in having pride in your country.
Yeah, for sure.
Us Americans are definitely patriotic. But so is the rest of the world.
What is like, and what's wrong with that? I love that Americans are patriotic, and this is okay that people love their country, because you love your country for a reason, man. You don't love your country because your government decided, okay, we need to make flags everywhere, we need to make patriotic slogans so that people gonna love their country. No, you love your country because you live in your country, you live good in your country, you love your country, and this is why you love it. But here in Latvia, it's a bit different, yeah? Before war, nobody gave a damn about patriotism. And now, when the war started, of course, they need to get people into army, and that's why they're rising the patriotic spirit. And this is so fake, and I'm so sad about it. This is fake patriotism over here, in my opinion.
As they should be. It's not a crime to be proud of where you came from. But that doesn't stop others from thinking we only complain and boast about America whenever we travel abroad. This is largely anecdotal. In America, Americans like to complain just like the rest of us. Only a few of them ever even leave the country, so you're meeting an unrepresentative sample. But
you don't really need to leave the country. You have everything in America. You name it: deserts, lakes, forests with enormous trees, whatever, name something and you have it in America. Basically, you don't need to see anything else. We in Europe don't have what you guys have on your continent, man.
in their defense, many times, they're right. Yes, this can hit hard in the pride spot, but maybe Europeans could stand to smile a bit more, right? No? Okay, fine. Back to the apathetic, leave me alone face. By the way, that part was written for our European representative, by our European representative. I love all of you. Anyways, statistics viewed by outsiders show that the US is lagging behind. Similar to topics we've already discussed, there's another factor that we have to take into account: reporting. Every nation reports its own statistics. This means that making statistical comparisons between two developed nations, like the US and the UK, is an exercise in futility. The data is just too close and won't reveal much except that the US counts people one way and the US counts them another.
What does it mean, lagging behind? They're like not counting the population in the right way?
That still doesn't make this misconception true. Americans are fake. Here's the thing. In Europe, citizens are almost proud of the fact that they're really standoffish. But once you get to know them, they're your friend for life.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Here's a newsflash. Once you get to know an American, they'll also be your friend for life. The thing is, though, they don't use this as an excuse to be a jerk in the beginning.
Yeah, this is also true. This is also true. I agree with this one. In UK, by the way, people are very similar. They are very like kind, and if you know them better, they become your friends.
This list sounds great coming from an American. I was totally the one who should have read this one, but I digress. On a totally different but very popular misconception, Americans are the only ones who call football soccer.
Yeah, this is true. This is, I would say, crime against European football to call it soccer. Apologies, but this is true.
Actually, a lot of the world calls it soccer.
Who, for example, who?
Even parts of Ireland still call it soccer. What do I mean by still? I'm glad you asked. It was actually the British who coined the term soccer. The word soccer is an abbreviation of association and first appeared in universities in the 1880s, sometime using the variant spelled soccer with a K. The word is sometimes credited to Charles Redford Brown, an Oxford University student said to have been fond of shortened forms such as brekkers for breakfast and rugger for rugby football.
Okay, my stereotypes has fallen, and I'm very sad that British started to call football soccer. I feel sad for this. I feel sad.
Britain
So it's not Americans, it's British. It's British fault.
actually started using the word football in the late 20th century, possibly because people incorrectly saw it as an Americanism. This next
But that I still don't understand what's in it, in this word soccer. I understand that football is a foot and a ball, okay? What about soccer? Like, what does it mean except like football? I just don't understand.
next one, Tristan couldn't believe. Could you not?
No.
I'm learning something. To our American viewers, did you know that people in Europe make fun of you for using air conditioning? Why do they need it? Why don't they just leave the window open? Mosquitoes, at least in Florida. But here's why they might be joining us soon. During the 2003 European heatwave, 70,000 people died. This was in large part due to
Wow.
the fact that European homes and buildings are not typically equipped with air conditioning. While they laugh at the Americans for this, hotter summers are going to force them to take appropriate measures, especially since children and the elderly are very susceptible. Again, I stand by mosquitoes. I'm not opening my window in the summer. Winter, absolutely, open windows.
Well, you can buy these nets that are against mosquitoes. This is the thing. But I can tell you that in Latvia we use air conditioning also. It's not a rare thing when a person, let's say on 9-story building, you have a lot of these air conditioning fans, because summers here can be really, really hot, up to 30 degrees, 35 degrees sometimes. And this is, if you don't have conditioning, you're literally dead.
Moving into the top 9, that's a weird number. Top 9. Many parts of the world accuse the United States of accounting for 25% of the world's carbon emissions. Not so nice. But it also accounts for 25% of the world's economic activity. The truth is that several nations, including countries like Canada, have higher per capita emissions than the US. Next, let's talk about how the world thinks Americans are ruining English. Actually,
Who probably English started this topic.
both British English and American English have diverged from a common 16th century ancestral standard, and in some ways, American English is closer to the original than British English.
Oh, wow.
For example, American English has, for the most part, retained the language's rotosity, pronunciation of the R in words like hard, while British has, for the most part, dropped it. Furthermore, this shift in British English happened around the time of the American Revolution, when wealthier Londoners wanted to distinguish themselves from the lower classes. This is only one example, but it goes to show that British English is not an unchanging standard any more than American English. On
Wow.
a totally different note, did you know that Americans don't all live in the suburbs?
I didn't know that, but I know one thing for sure. If you drop me a subscribe, that would be really nice. Thank you for watching.
Nope, not true. The fact is that in America, you have plenty of people that live in cities like New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, and the list goes on. In fact, several regions of the United States are very European, like the Northeast Corridor, for example. The difference between the US and Europe is that if you want to live in the suburbs in the US, you can, but you don't have to. Now, this next one is just offensive. Americans are all dumb rednecks.
Oh
Well,
my god. Yeah, this is dumb. This is not offensive. This is dumb. Like, who said that? I mean, there are like, America is a big country. You have like what, 300 million people, 400 million people, and just to say all Americans are dumb rednecks, this is kind of stereotypical dumb thinking, in my opinion. For people who don't use their brains.
Certainly Americans who fit this stereotype, the vast majority don't. Most Americans live in cities near the coasts. Most of them are educated, and most of them are not very different from Europeans in any significant way. Every country has a less educated populace that they themselves make fun of. even sophisticated nations like Sweden and Switzerland. Fair warning, the last 5 on our list get a bit dark and crazy, starting with the idea that America is imperialistic. In many parts of Europe, the United States is seen as an aggressive imperial power, even more so than Russia and China. This is largely because our military presence both in Europe and everywhere else. But in our strong defense, Americans never forced you to watch our movies, quarter our soldiers, obey our laws, or get permission to leave your own countries. It was the Russians that did that, and much, much more. Food.
Yeah, well, I mean, America is everywhere. That is facts. And I thought about, well, America got ahead of everything, in my opinion, during the First World War and Second World War, because there was a war in Europe, and it gave a big opportunities for America to earn a lot of money by creating weapons for Europe.
For thought, after World War II, the Americans liberated and left. The Russians liberated and stayed. All right.
Okay, let's be honest. It's not the Russians. It's Soviet Union. Soviet Union is not the Russians, okay? There was big part of Soviet Union, which was Russia, but also there was Ukraine, Belarus, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, Armenia, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Kazakhstan. There was a lot countries in USSR, and they were fighting alongside Russians during World War II. Just to correct his words, I just don't love when people say Russia fought, because my grandfather fought. He's Latvian. He fought for USSR also back in the World War II.
Number 4 is sure to be a shocker to a lot of foreigners. Americans don't actually all walk around with guns. It's just not true.
Oh no, how is possible?
Except for a few places, the only people you'll ever see carrying guns in America are the police. In fact, you'll see more people walking around with guns in Switzerland than you ever would in America.
Leave me your thoughts in the comment section about this. I kind of don't believe what he's saying. And I think I heard in Texas there are people and they having a lot of guns. A lot.
Okay. We admit that, like most stereotypes, there is some truth to this next one, but it's been wildly blown out of proportion. Americans are all crazy Christian right-wingers. There's something so right about saying it with that accent. Yes, there are a lot of Christians in America, and while some of them are crazy right-wingers, most of them aren't. In fact, if you ever get a chance to go and stay with one of those crazy Christian families, you'll see that most of them are just genuinely sweet people that go to church on Sundays. This next one sounds like a legit stand-up joke.
Hey, listen, America is a big country and there are a lot of different people and a lot of different movements over there, and yeah.
If you get injured and can't pay for it, you'll just die in the street. Yeah, many people in Europe think this is what happens in America.
Yeah, that's what we really think, because your health, yeah, this is what I think also, because I heard that it's super expensive in hospitals, and people pay a lot of money. If you don't have insurance, you're basically done. That's what I heard. Either if you don't have insurance, you get like to hospital, you have to pay really a lot of money.
As with most things that concern America, they're wrong. You can't be denied emergency medical care in the US. That would go against the Hippocratic Oath. The difference is that you get a bill in the mail a few months later. Of course, debt is another issue, but let's get into that right now.
Yeah, and then you die from the starving because you have to pay for the medical, for being in the hospital, because your bill is like 70,000 grand. 70
Americans
grand.
are all in debt. Actually, European citizens carry more debt than Americans. The average household debt in the US, OECD, is 113% of the household's income. In the UK, it's 156%. In Sweden, 173%. And in Denmark, it's a whopping 305%. So,
in Latvia, it's probably 5,000%, because here everybody is in debt, every second person has something in death, I'm telling you.
What are some misconceptions about the U.S. that you'd like cleared up? Or do you live in America and want to put a stereotype to rest? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet your answer to us at list25. And as an American, I apologize for everything going on right now. Don't worry, 2020 is just around the corner.
This is really interesting, and I agree with almost everything. But what the things that he said about guns, yeah, I disagree with him. I heard that in America there's a lot of people carrying guns, and I believe that in America there are much more people carrying guns than in Europe. This is my opinion. Yeah. So thank you for watching. Check out my other reactions. Please subscribe, click the bell for notification, and see you in next reaction videos, dear viewers, and have a nice day. Bye.